Alright guys, welcome back to the garage. Now Friday, February the 11th, 2022. And we're going to start with an easy project this evening. We're going to work on de-rusting and painting this seat pan from the driver's side of the 1981 Alfa Romeo Spider Veloce. So we've got a couple of rivets to drill out here just to remove this little rubber trim piece that goes around the seat pan on the outside. We've already removed the rubber trim piece that fits along the back here. That is just a friction fit. So all we're going to do is we're going to wire brush this down, or grind and wire brush this down. Then we've got some rust killer primer here that we're going to prime it with, and then eventually we're going to coat it with a coat of black trem-clad rust paint, and that should be good for another 40 plus years. So let's get around to doing that. Again, we'll drill those rivets out first, and then we'll get to cleaning this up and painting it. Alright guys, I just wanted to take a quick look at the exhaust manifold here. Doc had asked me to have a look at this and to potentially remove it from the car to have it ceramic coated, but I just wanted to see what I could do with it before we went to the attempt to remove this. I'd mentioned to Doc this could be problematic if the studs are stuck or break, for example, in the block itself. That could be a costly mistake to have happen. Plus, getting the downpipe off, which I believe is the original 40-year-old downpipe, is probably going to be a bit of a challenge as well, and that might entail getting a new downpipe. So I'm a little bit worried about taking this off, but what I can do is I can definitely clean up some of the parts, and you can see that there's a little heat shield here, and I've taken one of the bolts off already, just held on by 3 bolts. This actually goes up to the air cleaner and provides some warm air to the air cleaner on a cold startup. Anyway, there's 3 nuts here holding this little plate, or this little shield on, so I figured I would take that off and at least clean that piece up, and maybe give the intake a little bit of a the exhaust manifold a little bit of a scrub, and see if we can clean it up a little bit. Alright, doing a little project in the kitchen tonight. We've got the high heat VHT paint out here in silver, and we're painting that exhaust capping piece. So this gets 3 coats of paint, and then it goes through 3 bake cycles. It goes through a 250-degree Fahrenheit bake cycle, followed by a 400-degree bake cycle, and then you need to crank your crank your oven up as high as you can. It needs to be a 600-degree Fahrenheit bake cycle for the 3rd cycle. Anyway, we've got one more coat of paint to go before we start our first bake cycle. It's looking pretty good. All right, it's Saturday, and we're at the Rust Beauty shop. And I've got a Lynn here. Afternoon. And we were just looking at trying to fix this seat cover, and I was thinking about taking the entire cover off, but Lynn has pointed out to me that that really won't help, because you can see that the cover is actually stitched into the foam, so we wouldn't be able to get to the top side of this foam anyway. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to put a piece of fabric or vinyl back in here, and then we're going to try to glue this seam together, because there's no way we can restitch it, but it's possible we can glue it with heavy-duty adhesive. So that's what the plan is. We'll do the best we can and see if we can make that look a little bit better. Well, we can't make it look any worse, so we'll do our best. Alright guys, now Sunday afternoon, back in the garage, and sort of jumping around a little bit. Yesterday we went over to Lynn's to take a look at that seat bottom and got that repaired. It is better. It's still not an invisible repair, but it's the best we can do under the circumstances with the stitching. So we'll install that back on the seat so you can have a look at that a little while later. We did get the seat bottom painted, and that's looking fantastic. It's dried up nicely, so we can get the seat back assembled. We were working yesterday as well, or the day before, we were working on that exhaust manifold, and we had just painted up this heat shield type deal. And we've just got it sitting back on here. I cleaned up the hardware for that, and as you can see, we've cleaned up the manifold a bit. I did want to go one step further possibly, and I wanted to treat this with kind of an old school hot rodder or muscle car sort of application. Can actually spray this down with a graphite dry lube, and it'll actually keep it from rusting. So I think we're going to do that. I've been looking for some. I thought I might have some out here in the garage, and I came out and looked this morning. Unfortunately, I don't have anything left on my shelf, so I've been searching around, but the stores are all sold out locally, so I may have to do a little bit of an extended search for it. But the idea with the dry lube is it protects the cast iron and gives us kind of a nice black color coat. and it's easily touched up. So if it gets a little bit dull over the years, you can actually just touch it back up with a brush or spray. So I think that's what we're going to do as far as refinishing this, but that's looking definitely better than it was. Well, it wasn't looking too bad before, just obviously had a little bit of rust on it, surface rust. Like I said, these cast iron manifolds are prone to rust because they are cast iron, so they're a little bit porous and they do absorb some moisture. Anyway, I think that's looking better anyway, just as it is. So I thought, as I mentioned, we were going to be jumping around a little bit today. I thought I'd come back out and start working on wiring up this third brake light. And I got these weather pack connectors because I wanted to do a disconnect, or quick disconnect in the trunk. So I'm going to use something like this, and I just wanted to make sure, first of all, that it could actually slide through the opening in the boot lid once this is open all the way, and it will. So I can actually use this to disconnect the third brake light quickly should Doc want to remove it for a show or for whatever reason, why maybe he wants to go through wash the car or wax under it, whatever. It's nice to be able to have the ability to disconnect it if you like. So I've just gone through the back here. We dug out the wiring diagram this morning, and we're just determining the brake light wiring, and I believe it's the red wires here. The yellows, I believe, are for the turn signals. The reds are for the brake lights, but we've disconnected the connector. We're going to do a little testing here to see where I need to wire up this third brake light. We're going to wire it from here and just run the wires up and out the boot lid, and we'll sort of zip tie them along here so they're nicely out of the way. But that's the idea anyway. We'll see what we can accomplish in the next few minutes. Alright, so we've just done some temporary wiring here to test our theory, and we've picked up the ground on the stock ground location, so that is grounded here on this little lug back here. We'll put a ring terminal there. Then we just have the connections for the brake light, third brake light, hooked up to where the pin would be for the regular brake lights, and we just have the light here. So let's test our theory. Battery is hooked up. We got our brake depressing stick here, so this should work. Let's check it out. There you go. Third brake light works, so we know that is the correct wiring. So what we'll do is now we'll make some permanent connections and get that wired up, and we'll make it, like I said, removable by using this weather pack connection. I think what we'll do is we'll put the disconnect somewhere here in the middle. That way I think Doc might be able to tuck this in behind. There's a panel that goes up here to obviously hide the jack and the tools. So if he doesn't want to leave it visible here, which I don't think is really a big deal anyway, he might be able to tuck it up under here as well. So I'll leave it a little bit long so he has a little bit of access if he wants to tuck it. And then we'll just run the wiring around the inside here. We'll hide it up behind the panel and up inside the wheel arch here to come back to make the connection back here at the connection block, and we'll not have to worry about messing with this area. Once the carpeting is back in, this will all be hidden. So that's probably the best location. So we're going to cut this here, and we'll put the quick connect in this location somewhere around there, and then, like I said, we'll tuck the wiring away and hide it out of sight. That's the plan. Alright, we got those connections nicely soldered up here at the first connector to the actual light itself. So we're just going to shrink tube these, and that should be nice and weather tight along with that weather pack connector. So we'll go ahead and we'll finish this up. We'll move on to the other pieces of wire and put on the appropriate connections there. Alright, let's try to install this one-handed. So here's our wire coming from the light, which will feed through the back here into the trunk, like so. And then that'll get stuck down, like I said, either with magnets or suction cups. We'll do that in a minute. So then that lead comes into the trunk. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but then we'll have our quick disconnect here. So that's the quick disconnect, so we'll connect those up. Everything is connected back in here. We'll just clean this up, and again, this is going to be hidden by a carpet anyway. So let's connect that connector and see if we're in business. Alright, quick wiring test now. Proof is in the pudding. So we'll get our stick here. 1, 2, 3. So I think what we'll do now is I'll just confirm that all of the brake lights are still working. So let me do that, and make sure that the signal lights, running lights, everything are still working, and I haven't screwed anything up. So, but that's looking good. I wish I could actually show it to you from the back. Well, I guess I could probably just set the camera up and give it a shot. So let's do that. All right, here we go. I think that's going to be good. Oh, running lights are still good. I know brake lights work. All right, confirmed we got signal lights, we got running lights, and we got brake lights. So all is good. So we'll call that job done. Again, the only thing that remains is to see if Doc wants to change out the rubber feet for some rare earth magnets, for example. But that will be up to him, and that's a simple job to glue on some magnets on the bottom there if he wanted to do that. But I'll leave that up to him. That's a simple DIY. So we're good. So we'll, again, we've got lots of clearance back here with the light, with the trunk lid all the way up. Obviously, we've got clearance with the top up and the top down. So pretty easy connections in here, just spliced into the wire here. There's our connector there. So again, this will mostly be hidden, and he can tuck it right in behind if he wants to, right behind the back panel. Or if he wants to, he can just leave it hanging out. But we'll, that's pretty clean looking back there if he just tucks it in like that. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but I think that should be good. And again, the trunk lid keeps this down a little flatter, so that's good. All right, let's move on to something else. All right, guys, it's been a few days since I've been out in the garage. I was actually waiting for some product to arrive so I could finish up this cast iron manifold. I'm not sure whether I mentioned it, but we're going to be doing a process, kind of an old school process that I'm calling a hot rodder or muscle car approach. Prior to my British car ownership days, I was into the muscle car scene with you know, owning Camaros and Firebirds and Le Mans sports convertibles. So this is something I would have done back in the day. So there's a couple of different tricks to treat cast iron manifolds to keep them from rusting, and I'll go over those now. All right, really old school process is if you're familiar with cast iron cookware, there's a process to season your cookware where you coat it in either Crisco or in some cases bacon fat and bake it in the oven, and that seasons or seals the pan in to keep it from rusting. So that's one process that old school hot rodders or muscle car owners will go to keep their cast iron exhaust manifolds from rusting. They'll do the same process as seasoning a cast iron frying pan. Although I do like the idea of this car smelling like bacon, like cooking bacon, I think we're going to go with a new school approach, and we're going to be coating this manifold with a graphite spray product, and that's what I've been waiting for to arrive. It's arrived today, so we'll pick the process up now of treating this with a graphite spray. So a bit more about this product. So it is, it comes out as a sort of a light gray spray, and then dries darker, and it coats the metal, it leaves a thin coating of the metal. So this will not rust for probably several years. It's easily touched up, so if it does happen to start rusting in certain areas, you can always touch it up by spraying or by applying with a brush. Now, since the manifold is on the car, we'll probably brush some areas and spray some areas. Not sure if I mentioned that in the previous video segment, but we'll do our best to keep things fairly clean down here. You do not want to get this on your skin. It will not come out very easily, so I suggest you wear gloves when you're applying this. So that's the idea behind this. It does have a very high heat as well, so if you're concerned about this burning off the manifold, this has got a temperature range that goes up to 538 degrees Celsius, I believe. Yeah, 538 degrees Celsius, which I believe is 1200 Fahrenheit. So it's got a very high heat tolerance. I believe the exhaust manifolds, like a stock cast iron manifold, will only probably get to about 600 degrees Fahrenheit. So this can handle about double of that. Anyway, we're going to get to the application process. Again, we're going to spray in some areas, we're going to brush in some areas. If the manifold was off the car, this would be certainly easier, but obviously the whole point behind this is I'm trying to do this without having to take the manifold off the car. I think we'll start by doing a little bit of de-rusting here on some of the areas I can get a little bit better. I did remove the dipstick out of the way so I can get a little bit more of the rust out here, and maybe do a little bit better cleanup on the inside here, but other than that it's looking pretty good. Remember, we've got a heat shield that goes over the center here, so we're not too concerned about that. So let's get to the application process. Again, wear gloves, get your brushes out, and go to town. Alright, so the application of this is fairly simple. So all we're doing is spraying it into a disposable container. We've got a small brush here we're applying it with. And basically just go over a couple coats. The cast iron is porous, so it soaks it up fairly easily. And if you do a couple of coats, you can get a little bit darker finish. This has had one coat, this is two, so it's a little bit darker on this side. And of course over here, not being coated at all, so you can see how much of a difference there is. So what the plan is now is once we've got this painted, we'll just fire the car up and warm the manifold up just to dry this completely, and then we're good to go. This should stay rust-free for a number of years. Again, it's very easy to touch up, so Doc, the next owner of this car, if he ever wants to touch this up, if it starts to rust in a certain area, is just to get a small brush and some graphite spray and just give it a quick touch up. So I think that will work well. Alright, we got the Alfa fired up. We're just going to give it a heat cycle, and then we'll come back and we'll show you the final look. One thing's for sure, you can sure tell the difference now with that new thermostatic actuator installed. It starts up perfectly, it idles a little bit higher obviously when it's cold, and then when it starts to warm up, that thermostatic actuator comes out, changes the fuel mixture, and a car settles down to a nice idle. Beautiful. So just idling just exactly where it should be. Perfect. Sounds great. Got a little bit of an intake noise because we've got the hose off obviously, so, but other than that it sounds really nice and smooth. So just so you know, no burn off or anything with this product. Again, it's a high heat product up to, like I mentioned, around 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, so it doesn't smoke or anything, doesn't smell or anything. So there's what it looks like as it's coming up to temperature, and it will not change color. So that's looking much, much better than it was. I think Doc will be happy with that. So that is a success. And again, very easy to touch up should it rust in the future. It may rust 40 years from now. And we'll let it warm up a little bit more. Just coming up to the second mark on the temperature gauge. We'll let it warm up fully, and then we'll shut her off for now. And we'll put the heat shield back on in place so you can see the final finished product. Alright, a quick shot of that area now completed. So what we'll do now is we'll put the air box back on, and you'll see, you pretty much can't see most of this area in here anyway, but that turned out well. Like I said, that should stay now for quite a few years. This has been high heat painted, ceramic painted, so we should be good there. And then the exhaust manifold, again, shouldn't rust for quite a long period of time. And if it does, or when it does, Doc can easily touch it back up. So good to go there. Let's put the air box back on, and we'll move on from there. All right, there it is with the air filter or air cleaner box back installed. That does take up quite a bit of space in this area, as mentioned. You still can see that manifold through certain areas, so that looks nice and clean down there. I'm happy about that. Every little bit helps as far as I'm concerned. The devil is in the details, as they say, so I'm happy with that. I'm pretty sure Doc will be happy with that. So I guess we can move on to other projects. What we'll do is we'll wrap it up here in the garage for tonight, but maybe I'll do a little closing segment on the seats and maybe on the carpet, just to fill you in what's going on as far as that is concerned, and then we'll upload this video so you can see what we've been up to on the 81 Alfa Romeo Spider Veloce. Alright guys, quick update on the seats. So as you saw me, I was at Alin's last weekend and we attempted to repair this seat bottom as best as possible, and it actually is repaired. So we have closed up the gap and it will not spread any further. But as you can see, this is not an invisible repair, unfortunately, and we knew it was going to be a difficult repair going into it. So having said that, although Doc hasn't seen this, Doc is kind of like me, and he wants to make this car the best that it can be. So he's broken down and purchased new seat covers from Classic Alfa. They are in the process of being shipped to us. So once we receive those, we'll strip these covers off, the old covers, and we'll put new covers on. So stay tuned for that. As part of the covers, he's also bought new seat bottom foams. These are the original foams, and although they're usable, we did actually replace the spring there, as you can see. Although these are usable, it's probably advisable, since we're going to be stripping the covers off anyway, to put new foams in. So we're going to do just that. So there is the update on the seats. So a little bit of work done, but this will have to be undone. We'll strip this cover off and we'll put a new one on. So we'll take you along through the process of doing the reupholstery on these seats once we get the kits in from Classic Alfa. All right, guys, let's talk about the carpet. So if I hadn't mentioned it already, I just wanted to thank you for all of your comments and views on the carpet video, which would be the video prior to this one. So we tried to do a little bit of a poll, and I asked you to comment on your favorite color from the carpet swatches that I displayed, and 50 plus of you commented on your favorite color. So I compiled those notes, and I will let you know the results of that poll at the end of this little segment here. But I just wanted to let you know that Doc, after viewing the video several times, has decided that he wants to go with 621, which is the saddle, and this is the nylon loop carpet, which closely resembles the factory carpet that the car had when it left the factory. So that will be the carpet color. So saddle wins in Doc's mind, and clearly and overwhelmingly by the response from the commenters on the previous video, saddle was the favorite color as well. I think probably about probably higher. I was going to say about 70% of the respondents picked saddle out of the 50 plus comments. So saddle it is for the carpet. So that's been ordered from World Upholstery, and that is winging its way to us as well. That will be a longer process. Apparently in today's environment, this is probably a 6 to 8 week lead time at least. So we won't be seeing the carpet for a while. So anyway, we'll be able to play with the seats and get those done before the carpet arrives. So once the carpet's installed, we'll be able to drop the seats right back in place. All right, there's the update on the carpet. All right, guys, I think we'll put an end to this video, and we'll get it uploaded. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do as far as projects are concerned for the next little while in the car. I still have a few small projects to do. I think the next one I'll do is I'm going to pull the radio out of the console just to check the connections at the back and do a little bit of cleaning back there. So that'll probably be the next small job. So I'm not sure again how long these seats will take to get to us. So that will be the next big job, followed by the carpet. There'll be a few other smaller jobs in there along the way, so we'll get to those while we're waiting for our large parts to come in. So that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for commenting, and thanks for subscribing. We'll see you back out in the garage hopefully tomorrow. Have a great night.